So, welcome everybody to another delightful Saturday afternoon session. So, I'm going to, let's see now. What I want to do is, a few of you have heard me teach this format before, but I really want to put emphasis on this principle because it's incredibly useful. You know, once you get this particular type of perception rolling, and that's the perception of emptiness. You can work with this one in 1,000 different ways. You can work with it with mental objects, with the body, external phenomena, virtually anything you can possibly think of. And the reason why I keep referring back to this again and again and again is that for any of you who are really interested in essentially accelerating the level of success with your practice, your meditation practice, on both sides, both on the samadhi and the vipassana. This practice is well worth developing. You know, since I've been in the monastery about 19 years, and without any doubt, this is the best practice I've seen. It might take a couple of weeks for it to kick in, but you know you'll see this is potentially more effective than many other say standard techniques that you've worked with. And the reason is that this developing this perception of emptiness with both internal, external phenomena, virtually anything which blocks or obstructs the mind, it maximizes the detachment. Actually, I'll just, before I go on, just in case there's some people here who are here for the beginners course, Bianca mentioned that this is the first week for the beginners, so they're using the small room next door before I get carried away. So, small room next door for the beginners. And this principle with the emptiness, the way the meditation works inside the mind is whatever you think of, whatever excessive thoughts you have, strong feelings, different views, opinions, any kind of mental obstruction that you have in the mind, which stops you from getting peaceful, tranquil, is unsettling and obstructive to insight. You've got to maximize the detachment, the process of letting go. Specifically inside the mind, because that's where it's really happening. But you can use external tools, external phenomena to help loosen, specific mental states that are quite difficult to let go of. And what also happens is because this emptiness principle, when you have the three characteristics of existence, which many of you are familiar with, the emptiness, the unsatisfactoriness, and the emptiness, unsatisfactoriness, and the dukkha. No, there's another one. Hey? Yeah, emptiness, unsatisfactoriness, changeability, anicca, changeability, which you see this repeated over and over and over again in the Buddhist teaching. These three characteristics permeate all phenomena in this universe, from inside this body out into the natural world, out into the vastness of the cosmos. And so what you're doing is, by reinforcing that perception just over and over and over again, thousands and thousands and thousands of times as the months and the years go by, you're actually bringing the mind into line with a very, very core, very profound Dhamma principle. Profound in the sense at its highest level. For any of you who go very deep in samadhi practice, then you really understand what emptiness is. When you're able to essentially to shut the thought process down, that will be your first major insight into true states of emptiness. It's all getting the mind peaceful. It's not bad. It can be quite interesting, quite encouraging. But when you actually see a full suspension of one's thought process, even for 5 seconds, even for 10 seconds, or if you've got a very good state going, it could be 30 minutes, an hour or so. and then you really get an understanding of what emptiness is inside the mind. And so reinforcing that principle over and over and over again. And one of the other effects is the cooling effect. By developing this attitude, that phenomena, both mental, physical phenomena, is empty on all levels. Whichever perspective you want to look at it from, the characteristics and whatnot, that you keep maximizing the detachment, the letting go, just over and over and over again. Because the thing is, when you're doing your meditation, it's your attachments essentially which are obstructing you. That's what makes you think too much. That's what makes you feel too much. So and it's a source. Your feelings are the source of the driving force behind your views, opinions. Your personal biases and essentially your whole personality complex. One's feelings, they actually drive the personality, the way we move in life. Not to say that we all of us do feel our personality is important, and it's just common sense to treat other people with care and respect and kindness, because every single one of us, we especially the meditators, we're quite sensitive people. We're not machines, we're not robots. So, but for people who, especially people who get into very deep states of samadhi, the jhanas, moving through different levels of profound emptiness, and for people who actually penetrate through to non-self, the sotapanna, the first level of enlightenment, the sotapanna attainment, then these people, they've gone as deep as when it comes to the nibbana element, that's as deep as you can possibly go in the mind, and then you actually see through the illusion of one's personality. But with that deep insight, also comes the how can I explain it? Very because of the deep insight, you just develop this very quite also deep loving kindness, compassion for especially for other beings in samsara. Because you've seen through the illusion, you've seen through the Dhamma on different levels, very specific insights which come up with, karma, rebirth, paticca samuppada, non-self, three characteristics, absolutely key profound Dhammas. And this is why, for people who have genuine enlightenment experiences, they can dedicate their whole lives to the service of others, to the service of the Dhamma, and actually do that with incredible love and joy, and it's a kind of thing which transforms their life. So what I'll do with this particular session is I'll just run a couple of principles past you for any of you who are not familiar with the different sets of dhammas within, say, the Buddha's system, whether it's the five khandhas, form, feeling, perception, mental formation, consciousness, or the five sense bases, ear, eye, nose, tongue, body, or things like head, hair, body hair, nails, teeth, skin, which is still quite a safe practice. It's still quite neutral. You won't get much trouble with this one. Even if I go through the body with the emptiness principle for hours, 3 or 4 hours, I don't virtually get any trouble with it whatsoever. It's a very, very smooth, safe practice, regardless of what you do with it. And but what I'll do is, with any of you who are versed in Dhamma principles, you can choose any set that you like. You can choose the 7 enlightenment factors. Let's see, the 4 foundations of mindfulness. Any set, any of the 5 powers, any Dhamma principle, sets of Dhamma principle, 4, 5, 6, 7 objects, within the set. And each component is empty. So an example is, and try to keep as relaxed as possible. I'll try not to get too complicated with this, but we will just, when we do the breathing meditation, we will focus on the full chest, breathing into the full chest between the throat and the belly button. So as you breathe in, then say for example, if I do a very simple one, 4 elements, breathing in, like earth, breathing out, leave a space. Then breathing in is empty. Breathing out, leave a space. Breathing in nature. So keep, we focus on a very broad, on the full chest, and use the mantra formulation, big spaces between the words, maximize the relaxation, and then go right through, earth, wind, water, fire. For anyone who isn't familiar with sets of dhammas, and but with other people, you can choose anything you like. Enlightenment factors, the sense bases, whatever essentially takes your fancy. But for people who want to keep it simple, just work on the 4 elements: earth, wind, water, fire, which pervade this full universe. And each one of those components is empty. Just do it in a very, very relaxed way, and silently in the mind. And I'll just talk you through it from time to time. So if any of you feel a bit sleepy or drowsy, just take nice deep breaths. Maximize the oxygen which is reaching your brain. If you find that you're thinking excessively about a particular issue or event or experience, just contemplate that completely, 360-degree perspective. Try to understand what's happening there, what's actually bringing that state up into the mind and what it's connected with. Because the more you understand this phenomena, the more the mind sees through this phenomena, the easier it is to let it go, for the mind to be peaceful. coming towards the end of the meditation session, so just reflect back and see exactly what works for you, what gets the mind calm, what increases your level of insight into the nature of the mind. And I'll ring the gong 3 times. You can open your eyes when you're ready. Does anybody have any questions on the meditation at all? Yes? No? Christina? So, when they say be in the present and the way things are now is exactly how they should be, could you explain around that statement, please? So, when they say be in the present and the way things are now is exactly how they should be, could you explain that around the statement, please? So, this kind of statement is similar to Longpo Sumedho's principle from Amravati, the way things are. But in essence, it's how naturally, things may be the way they are, but it's how you actually respond to the, say, external, internal conditions which actually count. So very few of us can, it's just impossible to control exactly what's going on around you, what's going on inside you, but you can change the way you actually look at things, the way you perceive things on the personal level. So, so this one's a bit profound, and so we'll just run this over again. When they say be in the present and the way things are now is exactly how they should be. So with your present moment existence present moment experience may be certainly your personal reality, but one thing you find if you're going through life and you've got this kind of attitude, things are as they are, the reality is just unfolding in the present moment, and all these quite interesting statements. But I think, especially for us who are interested in the nature of the mind, the nature of reality, it's how you actually deal with it. Because if you've got a situation where somebody says to you, just to make it simple so it doesn't get too complicated, just to be with the way things are, very easy to say, just to be with the way things are. So, but the crucial thing, if you're looking at a sense of peace of mind, contentment, ease, like moving through life with a mindset which doesn't create problems, difficulties for yourself and others, the less detachment that you've got to the way things are, the better off you are. Because if you cling to anything, if you want to change anything, you want to control anything, you want things to be in a certain way, you're asking for trouble, because it's just impossible. So the way I understand it is, for many of us, we try to move. If you're looking at the big picture, when we're moving through our life on a day-to-day basis, and you're looking at the big picture, that the best way to move in life is to an easier way to understand it is to look at, say, the development of the wholesome and the unwholesome. To have an understanding of, say, cause and effect. So, if you move through life in a way which creates problems, difficulties, stress, well, that, realistically, that's not the best way for you to go. But if you live your life in a way, say, skillfully, with a degree of wisdom, understanding, and like detachment to a degree, because with wisdom, with the wisdom faculty, actually comes detachment as well. Because you know within yourself, most of your life is essentially just completely out of your control. Your partners, your children, your work, the boss, your body. You just can't. You can hardly control your body to any major degree. Your mind states, your feelings. But the thing you can work on, which makes the whole business much easier to deal with, your life, your daily experience, you just maximize the detachment, because the more detached you are, the more emotionally cool you are, and the less you think, the much easier, the much more peaceful, the more pleasant your life is. So to keep it simple, regardless of what your experience is across the range, because every personal experience very, very subjective. If you maximize, if you're looking at key principles, you maximize the detachment and especially the understanding and the wisdom faculty. And actually, you've got supporting faculties like principles like mindfulness and whatnot, but detachment is a key principle. So how can I, there's got a question here from Romania, how can I overcome the feeling of sadness in meditation? So what I would always do is, if that's what I was going through, I would look at that feeling of sadness very, very clearly. And as I mentioned before, try to understand exactly what's happening there, because whenever you get emotional states in the mind or excessive thinking, you need to understand what's actually happening there. When you're looking at the mind process, your personal experience, the more you understand what's actually going on inside the mind, the easier it is for the mind to relax and actually let this phenomena go. Because essentially, so for example, you've got a difficult state, is the more you understand what's actually happening there, the more you are undermining, say, like the delusion, the lack of clarity, the person can't see clearly exactly. So so for example, I can look at a feeling of sadness within myself, but if I don't actively investigate it, it doesn't. It may not go away for months or even several years. Because you're not addressing the issue. You're not actually. If the mind state rises up, and if you really don't try to understand what's happening there and get some clarity, for many people it won't go away. It will just keep coming back again and again and again. But there's other active components where, say for example, you understand that maybe the sense of sadness is coming from you've lost your father just recently. Could have been several weeks ago. You feel the sense of sadness and loss. And what I would encourage people to do is there's a number of things you can do there, depending on how it works for you. The tools. You work with the Brahma Viharas, whatever emotional quality you need to support yourself, to help balance that feeling of sadness, supporting oneself on the heart level. You radiate that feeling towards yourself, the loving kindness, may I be, it could be like, may I be peaceful, at ease, may I come to terms with the death of my father. So the loving kindness is based on radiating feelings of positivity towards oneself. Compassion is aimed at relieving feelings of suffering, and so you look exactly at the qualities of the emotions, and then of what you're being afflicted with, and then generate those specific emotions towards yourself to bring the mind back into balance. Something else you can do is with that. So, for example, if I was, very attached to my father, I lost my father, I felt this sense of sorrow, sadness, grief. You can. Another means is you can maximise the detachment for the person you've lost by using the equanimity meditation, where, say, for example, my father's name is Charlie. That say Dad or Charlie is the owner of his karma. So it sounds a bit simplistic, but what you're actually doing there is you're developing this attitude, you're developing this kind of detached attitude that, even though maybe my father, he got sick, he died of cancer prematurely, that's part of his life path. It's much more, it may be more complicated than that, but, you develop this attitude that's his life's path. He dies of cancer maybe quite early, 60, 65. And the same thing again. We cannot control the health and the sickness in another person, and also the emptiness principle. And it's the same thing again. This particular person is empty in nature. In essence, their personality is empty in nature. Might sound a little bit cold, but if you're really, really suffering, and that actually works for you, it helps to cool those very, very painful emotions off. It's well worth it. But especially the Vipassana person really needs to understand what they're going through. Otherwise, these mind states just keep coming up again and again. So there was nothing else. Did anyone else have any questions at all? Yep.
Is there a point at which you would stop saying the mantra?
Personally, I wouldn't, because I've been working with this one for at least, say 4 or 5 months, and from what I see is when you do this kind of mantra formulation, just keep going, back and forth with the mantra set, on specific phenomena. You want to keep maximising the detachment, maximising the space between you and the object, whatever you're working with, or sets of objects, and just to be peaceful. Say, for example, there's different circumstances. Say, for example, you're doing the meditation, and the mind is getting incredibly peaceful. It's so peaceful that you just want to stop that mantra process. Well, I would definitely shut it down, because if you when you're looking at the process of samadhi, as the person develops the meditation, develops the level of skillfulness and whatnot, they get the mind quieter and quieter, and they can feel it where the thought process is starting to shut down, and they know that it's not correct to keep thinking, to do that. With this mantra, this thinking process, it's disturbing the peace. So if you really feel that you're getting into a deep state, definitely shut the mantra down, and if possible, focus on that peaceful mind. You may have the breath still there, but focus on that silence, because that's exactly where you need to go. You want to go, draw your attention into the silence, and then bridge to, say, the samadhi nimitta, which is the beginning stages of Appicchato samadhi. So, and what else is there? Sorry, just repeat that again. There was another point I had to say. Just that question again.
Oh, just when you would actually stop repeating the mantra. Like, say, for instance, your mind naturally inclines towards the breath, and it starts becoming what Ajahn Brahm describes as the beautiful breath.
Yeah.
And you start inclining towards that. Should you then just let go of the mantra? Or?
Yeah, definitely. As I mentioned, and but as soon as as long as you can sustain that state, just go to the breath, and then focus on the silence in the mind. But if you feel that you haven't got enough samadhi, enough stillness, enough mental energy to keep moving inwards into the mind, I would only just sort of back it up with this kind of sort of coarse mantra. formulation, because it's just a tool, essentially, just a tool to bridge you, to get you to that intermediate stage, because it's something you feel. When the meditation gets profound, it's something you feel. So that'd be all that I would do.
Thank you.
No trouble. Is there nothing else at all? Okay, we'll finish up.